Hey First Pres, What's Up is coming to you from First Presbyterian Church in York, Pennsylvania, providing pertinent and helpful information, inspiration, and encouragement in these challenging times.
Hi, and welcome to Hey First Pres, What's Up? We're broadcasting here at First Presbyterian Church. I am Guy Dunham, your host for today's program, and we are starting a new season for the podcast, so this is exciting. But before we begin, I want to be sure to thank KG, also known as Kyle Gorin, our new full-time Director of Communications. Everything he has done today is because of his skills, and we thank you so much, KG, for making this possible and this new season for 2021. And although KG has been with us since last year, he only became full-time on January 1. So we just want to say how blessed we are to have you. Thank you, brother. But it is also my pleasure and honor to introduce another new full-time person, Marcia Mayfield, who has assumed the position of Director of Caring Ministry and Community Outreach here at First Presbyterian Church. Only been here for 4 months. It's been a whirlwind. And I should just note this also, that both KG and Marcia are Messiah University, no longer college, university graduates, although different generations.
Okay, right.
I had to say that, didn't I? Anyway, Marcia, it is so good. You and I have talked already.
Yes.
And I said I really was looking forward to this. So thank you for being our very first guest for the 2021 season, and also welcome once again to First Presbyterian Church.
Thank you so much. This is exciting.
Yes, it is. It is. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
As I've already mentioned, you've been here only a few months, 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very long. And under normal circumstances, I'd simply ask you how things are going since your arrival. However, these were unusual circumstances. We are smack in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. So needless to say, these are anything but normal times.
Right.
So tell us, how's it been going, not only starting a new position here, but also having to do it in the midst of COVID-19?
It's been very interesting. And actually, I've enjoyed it, though.
Okay.
So it's been different, just getting adjusted to the position and to the people, to the volunteers as well as the clients.
Right.
That has had its adjustment period, but it's been really good to see people working together.
Yeah.
You know, so it's given me, I haven't felt like I've been alone.
Good,
you know, I
good.
haven't felt in that sense. I've felt like we've all worked as a team, and that has been a really good feeling to me. It's been a really good transition, you know, and then so I moved here as well. So it's been a lot of change in my life in the last 4 months. So it's been an adjustment. But I tell you, like coming into work and having, you know, the volunteers and Keishla, I've really kind of felt empowered. You know, I feel supported. I feel like we're a team, and I am enjoying York, even though I can't really experience a lot of it, you know, due to COVID. But yeah, it's been good. And so when at times when I do feel lonely, like if I'm home for a long time and then I have my opportunity to come back here and then I feel connected again. So.
And some of our folks may be aware of the fact, others aren't, that you actually chose to live right in the city, on the square, there at One Marketplace, or whatever they call that. So you have a condo up there, or whatever do they call it a condo? I don't know.
I think they still just call it an apartment.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
So you are in easy walking distance.
I am. So the walk is very good. I enjoy the walk. I enjoy the walk every morning and afternoon.
Okay.
You know.
And you
So-
getting to know a little bit of downtown? Have you been able to walk around at least downtown some?
Yeah, I've been to the farmers market and to a couple of the restaurants.
Okay.
So that has been really good. I can't wait until COVID lifts a little bit and, we have some concerts or some music. I don't think that they'll be, sitting right next to each other like we used to, but it's been good. It's been a really good transition.
Good. Yeah. We've already talked about this. You'll love Capitol, the Strand, and the York Symphony and all of that. Boy, that's easy walking distance for you as well.
And I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an awesome aspect of this community. So, okay. So, you're a PK, a preacher's kid.
I am.
And you survived to tell the tale.
Right.
Yeah. So tell us something about what it was like growing up and outside of Philadelphia.
Yes. Actually, I grew up in Philadelphia, and the church was in Philadelphia. So it was an inner city church, and my father was the pastor. And the thing about that is my family was the head of an organization as well. So it wasn't just my father's church. It was, cousins and uncles. There was churches under our organization. So it was an interesting childhood that I would not trade for anything in the world.
Okay.
One of the main things that I think that I got from being a PK is you get a whole different set of family. So you have your birth family, but then you have your church family, and when you spend that much time with church people, they were really like family to me, and I don't know whether I was like family to them, but honestly, it was the care and the thought and the connection was like a whole group of people. They weren't just like my friends from school.
Yeah.
Even though we weren't family, I called them all, you're my church family. And to me, that meant something for real. It meant because your friends are friends because you have some common interest or whatever. Right. Your church family, they're your family because you see them so often. And I don't know if it's like this in other churches, and it's not really like that. Well, it's not like that now because of COVID, but in the inner city church, we were there Sundays, we were there Wednesdays, we were there Fridays, and our services are long. It was definitely a fellowship, a time of fellowship.
So the church was really the center of your community. I mean, that was like the hub where everything came together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where everything came together. And so it was very interesting being in that environment. And I wouldn't change it for anything. Mm-hmm. It was sometimes difficult, because I was kind of raised to, this has its pros and cons, to make sure that I put other people first.
Right.
And to my parents then too had to, in their position, there were some families that didn't have fathers in the home, and my dad took a lead, there often. Mm-hmm. He was just that wonderful, wonderful man, and so and the funny thing is he was a police officer as well. So he was a full-time Philadelphia police officer and a full-time pastor. So.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And he only had 24 hours a day.
Exactly. And there were 5 of us. I'm the only girl. I have 4 brothers. So, so he was pretty busy. But I don't think any of us felt like we missed out.
Okay.
He was there for us. He was there for my mom. They went on dates and were holding hands after 30-something years of marriage, walking through the grocery store. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was a really good upbringing. Yeah.
Talk about time management.
Right.
We were talking about that a little while
earlier,
ago.
Yes.
And, wow. He must have really been an expert at it.
Yeah, he was good because I never felt like he was always there when I needed him to be. you
That's
know,
awesome.
and that was a good thing. I learned a lot of lessons even when he didn't realize he was teaching the lesson.
And that says a lot about your dad and your mom as well, because there are a number of PKs who resent the church, that their father or mother or both don't have much to do in their life, and always being told, well, you're sacrificing for the church and for Jesus, and then what are they going to say?
Right.
Oh, I'm being selfish or whatever. But I sense from what you're saying is that was not your experience with your dad.
No, he taught me to love Jesus,
Yeah.
you know, and I have a lot of friends who were taught to love the church.
Yeah.
And I was thinking one day what separated me from them. And like he taught me, how to care for the church, but the main thing he taught me was how to love Jesus.
Yeah.
And not the do's and the don'ts of the church. Don't do this, don't do that. Don't wear this, don't wear that.
Yeah.
That was never his thing. He always taught me the love of Jesus, and loving others, and really just like a heart for God. And I so appreciate that it didn't get into the politics that can come with church or being that PK.
And you didn't feel like you were living in a fishbowl where everybody expected more of you because you were the pastor's child?
I did.
You did?
I did feel that. I felt like I was living in a fishbowl, but the way that it was presented from both of my parents, it was kind of, yes, I'm in a fishbowl, but you can handle it.
Okay.
And not that I'm perfect, but it was just kind of like the role, the position that had to be played. And sometimes it was a little difficult because it felt like as a child that they were always right. Like the church members were always right. I always had to give in to what they wanted. I'm like, like if an extra child came and they were giving away, something at church that day, it's like, well, I'm going to just give them yours because we'll get you another one next time, And I'm like, oh, but I did my whole little speech. So I had those moments every now and then. But yeah, you do get that fishbowl experience, but I didn't feel like I didn't resent it.
Yeah, and that you couldn't be a kid because you were always, people had higher expectations of you than they would have of other kids in the church.
Yeah, they did.
They did, but you were able to live with it?
Yeah, I guess that whole being a kid thing, maybe that exhale moment took place at home.
Yeah.
Like once we were at home. But I had times when I had to, step in. That's true.
Okay.
As I think about it, I've had times when I had to step in, even in adult roles when people didn't show up or whatever. You have to just step in and do the work, And but yeah, like I said, I think that somehow they made it seem like a privilege, like to be used by God. My dad used to sing a song to be used of God. Yeah. And so you felt like, okay, Lord, thank you for choosing me, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. That's how I felt.
Cool.
So.
Wow. That's awesome. So you grew up, and you have 3 grown children. You raised them as a single mom. That must not have been easy.
That wasn't easy. So I became, I was married for quite a while. I was married for 16 years, and then we were separated for another 4 or 5. So I divorced after being married for 21 years, but it was 16 years that he was in the home.
Okay.
So, so when he left, they were 10, 12, and 14.
Oh, Lord.
The crazy ages.
Yes.
The crazy ages. So my oldest is a boy, and I have 2 daughters. But that, too, was rough in the midst of it. during that time, it was really difficult. There were times
Mm-hmm.
when I didn't know how I was going to do anything or how to, to make ends meet,
Yep.
you know. And yeah, the circumstances of their dad leaving, all of that was just really kind of tumultuous. It was something that beautiful upbringing that
Yeah.
I told you of. I had no I was not
Oh,
prepared.
no.
I was not prepared at all. Um or I didn't think I was prepared.
Right.
But God has a way of exercising our muscles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he has a way of letting us know how much we can hold based on all of this exercise that we've been doing.
Yeah.
Now I'm putting the weight on you. And you're like, okay, I did make it through that. I could hold that. I
Right.
didn't realize it. So I guess we have to, I guess it has to be tried,
Yeah.
so you can see for yourself, you know?
And I would imagine that perspective of a single mom and from time to time never knowing how you're going to make ends meet, and you had 3 children dependent upon you to feed them and care for them, and et cetera, um, prepared you for the kind of people who walk into the caring ministry, because a number of our clients are single moms.
Mm-hmm.
We have some single dads now too,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
but whatever, as single parents
Mm-hmm.
with the responsibility of children and having to hold down a job and all that sort
Mm-hmm.
of thing, and still trying to make ends meet, and then worried when you can't or you lose a job, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a heart for it, doesn't it?
It definitely does. It definitely does. Because I think I always had a heart and um, a care for serving people.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know how certain things felt.
Right.
And one of the things, like some of the things are like the tangible worries of food and shelter and things like that. But then there's um, the other ancillary feelings that come from it, like um, the guilt and the worthlessness. And,
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that I didn't experience, but I realized that I had in my own head an expectation for myself.
Yeah.
And I have a family. I think I may have one cousin that's divorced. But
Okay.
otherwise, I am the only person in the family that's divorced. All my brothers been married forever, and my cousins,
How
and
special.
right, like on every side. So right, and I'm
Oh.
like me, the girl of the family.
Mm.
Um, so I felt a bit of shame,
Yeah.
and I felt like I wasn't good enough, and I
Wow.
felt like I let God down. And
Mm.
so those feelings that I felt, now I have a greater understanding of, of people, and even when they're asking for things, even when they have to
Mm-hmm.
come into the caring ministry and they have to come for food or they have to come for energy assistance and they've never had to do this before, I understand what is going through their mind too. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I need to get this done, but going through my mind is like, I didn't plan for this. I didn't prepare for this.
Yeah.
I had a different expectation for myself. So the experience, what you're experiencing and what you expected, when those things are not
Wow.
the same,
Mm-mm.
that is, that's something that you have to work through. And that I definitely I appreciate it now,
Right.
because now I can share with other people and I can see where they're coming from, and I can let them know that it doesn't make them less of a person.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make them less important. It
Right.
doesn't take away from their worth. You know.
I know you had told me that you've noticed an increase in the number of people who have said to you, I never thought I would have to do this, that I would have to come to a place like this
Yes.
looking for help.
Yes.
But what you're saying is you've been there, done that. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what they're feeling. And, that's invaluable, Marcia, because people can tell whether you are sympathetic to where they're coming from or not. They're
Mm-hmm.
looking for affirmation in the midst of self-condemnation, or
Mm-hmm.
whether you're just going to add to their guilt.
Right. Right.
And when you bring grace, God's grace to the situation, I just want to affirm you in that. I've seen that in you.
Oh.
Of course, when we interviewed you as a committee, we saw the servant heart.
Hmm.
And even though at that time, and we don't need to hear it now, but then you did share deeply of what that was like when you really went through the divorce and all. That was one of the things that impressed us as a search committee of, wow, what she's been through, and yet she's come out on the other side. And we knew that we needed somebody with that kind of servant's heart who had also been there, done that. Because our clients are the people that we care about, and we want to love them with the love of Jesus.
Right.
And they can tell when it's fake. They know when you're faking it. And you're not faking it.
Right. Right.
So once again, I'm saying this in part because I want our listeners, whether they're members of First or whatever, we are incredibly blessed to have you.
Oh, thank you.
I
I
know,
feel
I keep
blessed to
saying
be
that,
here.
but
I really do.
Well, it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
okay, let's jump back a little bit when you went to Messiah. At that time, it was Messiah College.
Yes.
And graduated. And what was your major, and what did you plan to do when you graduated?
Right. Well, I was a biology pre-med major. So my degree is in biology. The intention was to become a doctor.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So as I thought about it, though, I think the real underlying theme was that I would help people.
Yeah.
So
That's your heart.
So I thought that I would do it through medicine.
Okay.
But life took different turns, and
Yeah.
I ended up. It still ends up being the thread through everything that I do, but it just happened to not be through medicine. So I did cancer research for a while at University of Penn.
Wow.
But always kind of found myself back to social work or something like that.
That's amazing.
Then I did work at Johns Hopkins most recently. Then I found myself, it just wasn't as satisfying. I still felt like I was serving people, but not as hands-on as I would have liked.
Yeah, well, in that kind of work, either one of it, you're not really face-to-face with the
Right.
individuals that you want to help.
Right.
It's all indirect.
Exactly.
So God opened the doors for you.
Yeah, but I'm like, Lord, why science? Why? But it just connects. Science just connects to everything to me.
Well, I know in some of the things we've talked about, things that we look at caring ministry and where we want to expand, or the mission of First Presbyterian, and then, of course, also with Nina, nutritional aspects of people's lives and wanting to make sure that they're eating the best that they can, talking about how can we make them more self-sufficient, how can we help people who want to do gardening, all that. You got that bio major back.
Right.
You have a general understanding overall.
It's funny. I had a meeting yesterday with Nutrition Links, and I think I stumped them a little.
Oh, really?
I think a little, because I was asking what do they do as far as, there are a lot of books and articles and research done on food and your mood,
Yes.
So, and they were like they don't do anything that connects in that manner, but there are ways that we eat that bring a cyclical pattern of how we respond to things, anxiety and depression, and the comfort foods and the foods that are sometimes the least expensive foods.
Yes.
So we have to make adjustments and change things, because some of the anxiety or the responses that we have really is connected to our food and eating healthy also. So sometimes you can look at somebody and it's like, maybe we should try some different food today. Let's get on a different. I noticed with my granddaughters, because I have 3 granddaughters too. sometimes I notice I'm like, okay, she's had too much McDonald's with mommy. Let's go to Nana's house. You know, because everything is just a little more frustrating.
Yes.
You know, because it releases different chemicals. So yeah, it's the science part plays into it all.
And
Yeah.
that would be a challenge at caring ministry because trying to help people who are just basically trying to get by, many of them are at survival level.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been taught to eat well.
Mm-hmm.
They buy the cheapest food they possibly can find, which is often the worst that they could eat.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way it is. The
Mm-hmm.
better nutritional food is more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you have an answer to it, but how do we approach that with our clients to help them understand that they need to change maybe a diet?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think it's well, first of all, I think it's little by little.
Okay.
You know, I don't think that it's something that can be pushed onto a person, but also I think that it's something that that if we look at it differently and not look at it as a they need to, like
Okay.
I have things like, for instance, I might have an issue with bread. I love bread, you know, but I should,
Carbohydrate.
yes, you know, but I shouldn't eat bread all the time. So if it's coming from the standpoint of, yes, I've had to change some things too, you know,
Okay.
then it's a little different because we've all, let's face it, junk food tastes better.
What it is, whatever they've done to it.
You know, it's like on those days when it's like, yes, I'm waiting because once a month I get to have whatever your pleasure is.
Yep.
The fact of the matter is, it's just a discipline that, you know, we all have had to change our discipline with something.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's how we're eating or whether it's sleeping or whether it's watching too much TV. Everybody in life has had things that they've had to pull back in some
Right.
areas. So I think the approach being, I understand, because even if food is not my thing, I have a thing. So I understand, you know,
Yep.
how it is to get through that. I think that putting things on an even playing field, you know, just from human nature as opposed to an economic nature, I think I think that that's like the first place to start,
Wow.
you know.
And that feeds into a lot of the philosophy of caring ministry, which we are different than a lot of the agencies that provide food and other things to clients. A specific decision has been made by the advisory committee and the church overall, certainly, and by caring ministry, is that we are client-based. In other words, not that the others don't care, because they do. They really do. But we require appointments, whereas others, people just stand in line, pick up their food, and leave. With an appointment, there's more interaction. Is there not a caring ministry?
There is a lot of interaction, and there's hope to have more interaction and more connectivity.
Right.
You know, when I first came to the caring ministry, we were allowed to still do client choice, where they were walking through to
Right.
choose their own food, and the connection between the clients and the volunteers was just amazing.
Yeah.
I thought that it was so good, like such a healthy relationship, you know, and I was very impressed by that, you know, because the people were excited, especially the days that we do the senior boxes. They're like, hey, how you doing? So how have you been? You know, and so it's a whole, I remember you from last month,
Okay.
you know, and they're building relationships.
Right.
And yeah, so that is very special.
Yeah, because it would be easy to get caught up in the numbers game. You know, we look at other organizations. They report large numbers of people any given month. And like I said, it's not that they don't care. They do. And so many of these people have a wonderful servant heart. But caring ministry has, if I've seen it over the years, has resisted the temptation to play the numbers game. to just say this is how many people came through here, and versus how many individuals' lives we've been able to impact because we spent more time with them. We actually see them and talk with them and ask how their family or whatever it might be. So, because I know I've met some people in other settings who have been in the caring ministry and remembered even me, and I was only there a short period of time.
Okay.
Oh, I remember you. We talked at such and such a place.
Right.
They do notice that. So
Yeah, and I think whenever anybody can connect with a caring in a caring environment, you know, I think it's important. You know, like so when we don't get to even if we go to a grocery store, you know, an actual grocery store, and that checkout person has a little bit of conversation or is a little friendly, I think if you can do that in a person's day, if you can add that to a person's day, and they're adding it to you too, because it's a give and take. It's it's I think that's special for humankind. You know, I think it's just something that boosts us all. You know, so
and
I
then
think
on
it's
top
important.
of it, as we've already discussed, if people are coming there already under duress, many already feeling humbled and embarrassment that they even have to be there to ask for help. Even for those who they act like they're the professional, you know, that they know exactly how to do this.
Yes.
They too need a sense that they're valuable and that we value them. And I know that some of our volunteers have said that some of the individuals have said, you know, we always knew that you love Jesus, but you don't push it on us. We can tell it by the way you act. That's what an advertisement.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
So, and once again, we're blessed to have someone who believes that yourself, because you, in many ways, are the face of caring ministry, but not the only one.
Right.
Keishla is the same way. She's got that servant heart.
Exactly.
And as you said, our volunteers are totally awesome here at First. And the servant heart that they have, not only those with the food, but also with the utilities. And they sit with them and talk with them.
Yes. And there's no judgment. There's no looking down on people, you know, and I've noticed that from the first day, and it's just been very impressive. You know, the volunteers and everybody, nobody is like shaming anybody or looking down upon them for what they have to ask for. It's really good.
Yeah.
Good place to be. I'm glad I'm here.
Good. Brings me to another question. You knew when we interviewed you and talked with you that even though that search committee was all Caucasian, they were white. And I'll be honest, I did mention that afterwards. I said, you know, Marcia had to come into and it was on Zoom at the time. But I said, we're all white. And we have to be sensitive to the fact of what it's like as a person of color to walk into a room of white people, whether it's Zoom or it's a real room or whatever it may be. And immediately, you're the person of color. We continued, and he came back for another.
and another.
I'll have to admit, you know, transparency. I mean, as soon as I talked the first time, I said, yes, that's it. My wife, who was downstairs, I was upstairs in my office, and she said, I could tell that you were excited because I heard your voice. And I said, she's like, oh, my Lord. But nevertheless, by the second time we met with you, and then that would have been in the old parlor. We did it in person. We wanted an in-person meeting. We shared with you the fact that we have black brothers and sisters who have been part of our congregation since the 1960s, some and more afterwards. But we were primarily a white congregation, no matter what way you try to look at it. We were. You come from a distinctly African-American Pentecostal background. Knowing what you knew about us as we moved along in the process, what was it about First Presbyterian, caring ministry and all, that you sense God's leading for you?
Well, before I started the whole interview process, this was one time when I actually prayed about it. I prayed before I sent any resume,
Right.
And not only did I have that prayer with it, I had a belief that it was going to take me to a place that I needed to be for God's service. I wasn't just praying for a job. I was praying that the Lord would take me where He wanted me to be, and so that was that part of it. And then I had my first meeting with Pastor Allison, and I just felt like, okay, God, this is going to be really interesting, because I felt comfortable, and the more I talked, even when the other appointments were scheduled and everything, I just felt like I'm just gonna put it all out there. I'm just gonna really answer, not wondering what will they think about my answer.
Yeah.
What just authentically answer. And I just felt such a connection with everybody on the committee. And speaking with Pastor Kyle and Pastor Allison, I'm just like, okay, Lord, what are we doing here? Because this is interesting. Yeah. And I felt prepared for it. I felt like it was a calling of God. And yes, I was raised in a Pentecostal African American environment. But the one thing about my dad being a police officer as well,
Right.
he would often interact with people of other denominations,
Right.
and he would often be asked to preach outside of our own organization and outside of Philadelphia. I remember taking long rides, and we had one yearly appointment with a majority Caucasian congregation. So I always been exposed to it, and then I went to Messiah College and was on worship teams, and so that wasn't unfamiliar. I had not been in that environment in years, but I didn't even see it. That wasn't like a thing that was dominant to me, actually, because I was just looking for where God wanted to use me. And like I was saying earlier, I just felt the connection from the beginning, and I felt genuine love from the panel. And just that authenticity from everybody. And I just felt like I'm like, okay, God, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to take that leap.
Yeah. In that, the interview, if you remember correctly, I remember correctly, not you, me. I was honest with you because I wanted you to know where our congregation is coming from.
Yeah.
We had just come through the whole thing with Floyd's death, Black Lives Matter protest downtown. 15 of us attended. And we were now beginning a committee, task force would be coming together over the issue of racial justice. And First Presbyterian, though it has 250-some years of history, it still has to come to grips with its own, where it's done well and where it's failed in regard to our black brothers and sisters. So we were just starting somebody called it fierce conversations, but they've been loving all along.
Yes.
I presented that to you. Do you remember what you said?
I don't.
You said, "I am so impressed that you all are doing that." And I knew that then it was okay.
Yeah, because I'm like,
you were glad to know we were even going on that adventure together.
Yes, and honestly going to that, venturing out on because sometimes people, it's just the right thing to do, so they talk about it.
Yeah.
But I felt that you really wanted to know, that people really wanted to. And believe me, I had some friends like, you're moving there now? Like, why? Like, what are you doing by yourself? Like, and a little uncomfortable with what I might experience. Not even from the church, but I'm moving at this point from Maryland, which is a strong African American population, even when you go to the suburbs.
Right.
To York, Pennsylvania, where I'm, driving in different areas, you never know what flag you're going to see or,
No.
or so I had some friends that were concerned, and I was like, I'm not concerned. I said, because I feel like this is what God wants me to do.
Wow.
And I was really impressed by, and I think I had like 5 interviews. So
yeah, you told me.
I had a lot of interviews. So I had enough time. I really felt like a connection, and I really felt like you might not be, like people don't understand. You learn each other, and we're always learning. Yeah. And I, on either side of any table, both sides are always learning. And I just felt like I was open to learn, and I felt like, First Pres was open to learn too.
And that's what's so awesome, once again, about how, there's no question about it. God was in the middle of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
All along the way of where each of us are in our own walk with Jesus, and was able to these two will do
this
really
will work.
well together.
Yeah, this will work. Yes, because I still remember my first phone conversation with Pastor Allison, and I hung up. I was on my lunch break at Johns Hopkins.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I was like, okay, this might work.
Wow. Well, once again, I praise God that God was leading in your life. And also, I praise God that you listened, and we listened, and we're all listening to the same one.
Yes.
We're following the Spirit and opening doors because, as you know, of course, even caring ministry and community outreach is at a new level, to be quite frank. Which brings me to another question is the other part of your job description, which was added for this full-time position, was community outreach, because we've not had that before. It was not expected of the director of caring ministry. They were specifically there at caring ministry. They were part-time, and we didn't expect it. And oftentimes, they didn't even live in the community. But when this position was expanded, quite frankly, for those who aren't aware of the fact, is that it was done intentionally because we knew that we, as a church, needed to be much more in touch with the community at large, also with NENA, the Northeast Neighborhood Association, and what is being done there, because we're a very vital part of it, and that the person who had this position could be the ears and eyes, if you will, in ways that we could not as individual members of the church. With that said, what are your first impressions as you're kind of starting to mix more with the community? Certainly with NENA, because you attend. They've brought you on board.
Yes.
And they would not let me resign.
Yes, good.
I said, well, we don't want to be overloaded.
Good.
I'll probably sit back more because you're quite capable.
I was hoping that they wouldn't, though.
Did you say something to them?
I didn't. That's where that prayer comes in.
Okay. But you've attended several Zoom meetings. Unfortunately, they're all Zoom meetings right now. And we're soon going to have a meeting of you and Darlene Leonard.
I'm excited about that.
Yes, the executive NENA and myself. And I'm looking forward to that. So what are your immediate impressions right now?
I just feel extremely hopeful You know, I feel the connections that I've made have been really good. Everybody has been they've given me good information. Everybody is very helpful. I am right now feeling my way through with which needs fit our vision, and how we'll roll out different things in the future. But I've definitely had some good connections and some good meetings, and I'm excited to see where it all goes.
Good. As I said to you before, adding that component was extremely important, I believe, especially where First Presbyterian is at this point. I don't know if you ever have had a chance or even received a copy of our vision when we did all that. I have to make sure you get a copy
of that. I think so. Okay.
I've said in several different circles, what I find is when I'm talking to people out in the community and involved in other churches is they are amazed on how First Presbyterian is moving forward in so many ways. The very fact that you and I are sitting here with this new equipment,
right,
and KG sitting here, recording us as the full-time communications director.
Right.
This also was a result of that vision, which Chris Clark had said at our annual meeting was really number 12, or something, and it became number 1.
Right. Isn't that something?
God's been moving so many things to the forefront.
Yeah.
And I believe also our community outreach is another thing that's been moved to the forefront. And a lot of it had to do with the vision that we had 2 years ago, sensing long before COVID.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a wonderful testimony and encouragement, is it not? To how God's at work in our lives.
It really is.
Long before we have any idea.
God is amazing.
Isn't he? Isn't he? So, yeah, you could say amen.
Amen.
So anyway, I just wanted to end on that note to just say that it's so obvious, and I want it to be a word of encouragement to the people at First Presbyterian Church or others who are watching us say, what are they about there? That we see God working.
Yes.
In some amazing ways. You're an example of it. KG's an example of it. A number of our staff, DeLass is certainly, she came as a result of it. Stephanie Auker was here before it, but what she's doing, and then of course our pastoral staff, our music people, Jim it's just amazing what God is doing here at First Presbyterian. But I do want to say that I am so blessed that you are part of that plan, that God has called you here. And I know you and I will be talking more. I kind of warned you that we'll probably have you back again as a guest. Let me say this in conclusion. The other thing is it was so appropriate for you to be the first guest because this is Black History Month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's right.
Yes.
And so I think that was also part of God's plan.
Yeah.
Is that you could be here and we can celebrate your being here with us as a Black sister, but most important, a sister in Christ. And
that's exciting.
one who has such a servant heart. So thank you for being my first guest in 2021.
Yay!
And for people to get to know you a little bit better.
Yes, and I look forward to getting to know people better too.
You will. I look forward to the time when COVID is more or less in the past, and you can interact with folks a lot more freely.
Yeah.
I know once those who have not yet met you get to meet you, they'll love you to pieces.
Yes, I'm excited about all of it.
Okay.
Excited about all of it.
Once again, thank you so much, Marcia. Thank you, KG, behind the scenes. He's sitting there. He just nods his head.
Yes.
And thank you all for listening in. And be looking on the website. I believe we will, correct, KG, that eventually these will all be in order on the website, like we're doing the same thing with worship services. So if people want to find a particular podcast, you'll be able to do that through the new website. Once again, thanks to KG. We're excited about that. And he's created or is creating a new one for Caring Ministry, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exciting too.
So you all make sure that you check out the new websites for the FPC and for Caring Ministry. And also look for us, hey, First Pres, what's up?
Yay.
So until the next one, wishing you grace and peace in our Lord Jesus Christ.
Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus washed. Oh, when he washed. When Jesus washed. He washed my sins away.